Okay, now in this video, I'm gonna answer about 5 questions, and let's dive into the question. The first question is about what do you know about the stages in word recognition? Okay, so in the word recognition, there are three stages. There are three stages in word recognition. The first one called initial lexical context. The initial lexical context, which is the auditory input, make a contact with the mental lexicon, which is then its function as to activate the word that are considered relevant from the auditory input. So this is the process where after we hearing something, it make a touch with our mental lexicon or a word that we possess or where we store the word that we remember. The next stage is called selection, where our mind determines the most relevant and appropriate word that represent the auditory input. After the auditory input make a contact with the mental lexicon, then we move on to the next stage where our mind select or choose the appropriate and relevant word that represent of the auditory input that just we hear. And move on to the next stage is called integration, where our mind combines the selected word with the interpretation of meaning from the auditory input. The next question is, what do you know about parsing stage and the process in the stage? So the parsing stage is refers to the process of gathering words that have been recognized and giving meaning to the word so that it can be understood as sentence. In the simple term, it is like we make a sentence so our mind make a sentence so it can understand it so well. And there is a process called sentential process where the mind attempt to understand the relationship between words in sentence and to obtain meaning of the sentence. And in this sentence, we need two knowledge. Such as first articulatory encoding, where our mind identify the prosodic factor. The prosodic factor is intonation, the stress, emphasize from the sentence. So, like when we are speaking, we give a stress, like such as maybe a long voice, the short voice. We give a high voice. That's called stress. That's where the articulatory encoding happens or occur. The next knowledge is knowledge about linguistic encoding. And linguistic encoding refers to can be divided into two levels. The first one is functional, where we determine the lexical context of the auditory input that we just heard. This is the same with the grammatical encoding, where it is the functional process where mind give the subject or role to the word. This is the same where our mind try to separate, like we have a sentence with our mind try to separate, like where is the subject, where is the object, and where is the verb. And the next one is positionals, where our mind try to identify the syntactical structure, like also the same as the grammatical encoding, where the positional process. Our mind try to understand whether the sentence is past, whether it's future, whether it is plural, singular, or etc. The next question is interpretation stage. And what do you know about the interpretation stage and discourse processing? Okay. So interpretation stage refers to a process where the mind is able to show understanding of the auditory input when we are communicate. While discourse processing means mind works to comprehensive language products, or in simple term, it is refers to the process where our mind show understanding, show what our mind show what it's understanding about the auditory input or the speech. And okay, move on to the next question is, what do you know about the three-parted model in this interpretation stage? Okay, so the interesting thing about this thing, the first one is called surface level, where the mind gathering word based on phonological aspect and gathering it into a sentence. The next level called proportional, where the mind encoding the meaning of the language where mind connecting prior knowledge of context with linguistic context contents to make inference about the meaning of verbal exchange. And the last is situational level, where mind succeed concluding the meaning in the speech effectively, combining all linguistic knowledge and communication context. To make it a little clear or a little simple, surface level can be understood as the lexical meaning. So let's take a example like it's cold here. In the surface level or literal meaning, when we hear it, we interpret the sentence literally. Like when someone say it's cold here, like the we interpret that the person mean it is really cold. So that is a surface level. Like we just gathering the meaning from the word for word based on phonological. And move on to the next step. We dive in more further down into the proportional or the speaker meaning. This is where we are trying to understand what really the speaker mean when they are or when she or he says like, oh, this is really cold. Maybe we interpret it like, oh, maybe this person is cold, so I want to give him a jacket, so I want to close the window, I want to turn on the heater or something. That is called the speaker meaning. And the last is the situational levels or utterance meaning. This is a further more to the deep down. Like you can imagine like you are in the community, like you are in the room with three friends, and you three friends, you guys just really don't talk to each other, and one of your friends says that, oh, it's really cold here. So when you are hearing this, you are feel offended, like you interpret the cold from your friend saying, you interpret cold as your reaction to them, like you are being cold to them, you are not talking to them, you are not reaction, or you are not giving a sign to them, like you just being cold. So that is what the situational level, like it is start from the literal meaning to the speaker meanings and then the utterance meaning. So like yeah, it is just how we interpret or how we understanding the meaning of the sentence. And the last question is, in sum, can you explain about the language perception? Okay. So to make it clear, a little bit clear, we want to take an example like we take example a sentence of it's cold here. So after we hear it, one word after one word, a letter or alphabet after an alphabet. After we discriminate the sound from the sound, we try to comprehend we try to divide it into a word then. And after the word, we forming it into the sentence, where in this sentence we try to find the stress, the intonation, the functional and the positional level. And after that, we construct it into the sentence our mind where our mind construct from the word that we receive from the auditory input. And the last is our mind try to understand or try to comprehend the meaning, such as like the surface level until the situational level. Okay, bye bye for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.